Hello, I'm Nila Chakraborty. Welcome to SBW Talks, where strong women have real talks, share real stories, and keep it all the way real. This is the space where we drop the masks, unpack the layers, and speak from the heart. Every episode, we sit down with incredible women who lived, loved, lost, and risen, and they're here to share their proof. No filters, no fluff, just raw, honest conversations that empower, uplift, and remind us that we're never alone. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Padmini Pandya. She was on our 10th episode talking about friendships, and here today we're going to dive into relationships, dating in today's fast-paced, changing landscape. Welcome, Padmini.
Hi, nice to be back again.
I know. We're going to dive into relationships. So let's start talking about relationships.
Let's do it.
Where are you now, currently?
I'm in Florida.
No, we want to talk about where you are in your relationship.
Oh. Where I didn't know you meant in the greater, grander, metaphorical sense of the word. Where am I in my relationship? I am single. I've been single for about a year. I took a break from dating. I got out of a big relationship last year. It was a clean break, but I realized I had bigger fish to fry. I had bigger goals, and it was really a year of me just sitting with myself, sitting with God, and, really getting my priorities straight and really imagining my future and acting on that.
So do you think it's changed in the last 2 decades, you feel?
It's not even just that dating is changing. And so obviously, we will eventually have to, talk about dating apps specifically, because that's obviously what changed the game. But I think people psychologically are changing. We've had dating apps for at least 15 years, if not more.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah, 20 years, right? Basically with social media came dating apps, and perhaps someone should look at the correlation and the relationships between the two of those as well, and what it's done to society and our brains. But I think 20 years is a lot of time and a lot of experience and a lot of exhaustion as well. And so I think what I've noticed over the past 5 years in particular is that there has actually been a pullback away from dating apps to more in-person events and actually meeting in real life, and not just having these weird, the text messages you have on dating apps make small talk in real life look like a serious philosophical discussion.
Oh, wow.
The dating app text of, hey, how are you? How was your weekend? What are you up to? It is mind-numbing, stupid nonsense. It's just, and the thing is, you're both probably nice people, but it's you are two strangers who just met on this weird app and then start texting. You have no idea who you are. You have no idea what you're interested in. No one wants to be weird or say anything offensive, but you end up saying nothing at all. And it just it does not hold my attention. If I need to meet somebody in real life.
Do you think monogamy has changed from the last 20 years? Or do you think it's just, I like you and okay, you fit my bill, you don't, and then you move on?
No, I think the foundation of monogamy is pretty self-explanatory. So I don't think that relationship has changed. I think generations, it seems, as I talk to people in their 20s, it seems like cheating is far more prevalent. And we're not talking about cheating in a 15-year marriage, which is its own, atomic bomb.
Yeah.
But people are cheating at the beginning of relationships and then having all this drama with somebody they barely know anyway. And then I'm just why are you all wasting your time?
Right.
Are you just that sex deprived or sex crazed that you're just doing this relationship pantomime just to have sex? That seems like a lot of effort for a very short term, fairly accessible goal, and then it's all these theatrics, and it's he cheated on me and she cheated. And I'm just it's vulgar behavior. It's really that part. I'm just oh, for Christ's sake, everyone take a break.
It's changed for us because I think when we were in our 20s, it wasn't so much cheating.
No.
We didn't have the dating apps either. We had maybe the matrimonial websites, I think. And then that's how we met people, right? Our spouses.
I met Gary in Vegas. He picked me up at a bar.
And that's normal.
Yeah, that's how I met my ex-husband. He picked me up at a bar in Vegas. But then he was a gentleman. It was actually it was fun. He had flown in, he moved his flight. We had a blast the next day. He courted me properly. He traveled to see me. He did it the right way. But I think it has to be divided up by age groups, though. because yes, I'm 45. I date men predominantly in their 40s and 50s. So I'm still, not that it's not porous, it is. It's like these behaviors, especially because now you have like 55-year-old men dating 25-year-old girls. Like, it's just like this completely different mentality. And then, of course, it's easier to behave like the 25-year-old than it is like the 55-year-old. But like, that's its own,
But
played out cliche.
But the men who are in their 40s and 50s, because I have a lot of friends who got divorced or they're widowed or their husbands have turned gay and they are single right now. So, what would you give advice to those women who are looking for men in their 40s and 50s and they haven't dated in a long time?
Stay away from anyone who is less than 3, if not 5 years out of that divorce. I could write a book about like divorced dads. Basically, like these men who come out of these like 15, 20-year relationships and then, we're basically married in like the 90s and then like pop out and it's 2025. They are a mess and they go through this very, a lot, not all of them, but like too many of them go through this very kind of like player energy. And then they're like, oh, look, because a lot of them by this age have money. So then that's a flex as well. And of course, like they substitute their money for a personality or like values or integrity. So then it's like, and it's always easier to impress a young girl, it's than an actual woman. They're messy, particularly the first 3 years. They're nonsense. Like, stay away from them. They don't know what they're doing. And like, if you take any man seriously, real man, like, be honest, like, don't get ahead of yourself and dress them up, because everybody is always like putting their best character, if not caricature, of themselves forward. And it's like, they're always sort of like, I am open to dating now, but like I want an evolved man. I want a cultured, cultivated, educated, spiritual man of God. Like, I do not care about his car. His net worth is not interesting unless some of that money is in my bank account. I don't want an insecure man who needs to like show off. It's so immature and insecure and embarrassing. I think a lot of these women have underestimated the power and strength and beauty and just fun of their independence. And a lot of them, whether or not they have kids, a lot of their kids are kind of older and grown up. Like, you don't need to take care of another man. You don't need to jump from like the frying pan into the fire.
No.
Chill. Is somebody who has constantly done that jump, because there's always another guy. Like, there's always somebody. It is so much more fun when you just like do your own thing, particularly like now my friendships with women, particularly like women in their 50s who also don't have kids. This is a party. This is the party you want to be invited to. Like, come have fun. You finally have your freedom. Go do you.
Right. And I think a lot of women forget that when they're empty nesters and their relationship with their spouse has moved on, but you're still independent. Go do your thing and let your spouse do their thing. And you can still be together in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and co-parent or whatever. But I think even the concept, it's not that like, I still very much believe in marriage, and exiting my marriage, ages ago was still not a light decision. But it is highly unlikely that two people are going to evolve in the same direction, in unison, unless that relationship is pretty bulletproof. Otherwise, like, the person who's good for you in your 20s may not be the right person for you in your 50s. Like, that is a favor. That is a blessing that, like, you get that time back. Value the time more than, like, the status of, like, am I single or am I in a relation? Like, who cares?
And I think women forget that you can be independent and not have a man with you by your side.
You're actually so much more free. A lot of that comes to, financial independence. Let's not like take that very like massive, like significant variable out of the equation, pretend it's not there. It's there. So like that is also, something I think everyone understands that like a woman should have her own money. Like it is better off for you, for your brain, for your happiness, for your independence. Even spending time by yourself, I think it's like, this is the avoidance, is that people are scared to be alone.
Correct.
So it's like, that's why they look for a relationship. Trust me, I get it. I was that person once upon a time. After having spent so much time with me, the only person who has ever really been with me my whole life, the only person who's ever really going to be with me, I am my own best friend. That's why I love hanging out by myself. Like, I hang out with the funniest person I know. Like, you have no idea. What comes out of my mouth is like 5 to 10% of what's actually going on in here. I'm fine.
Right, right. You have to
You
enjoy
know,
yourself.
you have to, and you have to be honest with yourself. Like, Saturday night by myself, word, sign me up. Like,
Yeah.
you don't, and I think once you fall in love with yourself, I feel like that's where, there were so many platitudes and sayings that I didn't hear for so many years that finally started to make sense to me in the past year or two. And that really, once you fall in love with yourself and you are so fulfilled internally, I expect a relationship will be knocking soon enough. I can feel it. I already know psychically. My champion is out there.
What happened with your ex? How long were
Which
you
one?
with it? No, the previous one.
You got to name them by like nationality. It's the
Well,
only way. What passport did they carry?
which one was the one previously? You were in with like a
The
year.
Italian.
Yes. What happened? What was wrong with him?
Fundamentally, that was actually an amazing relationship. That was such a healing relationship that I evolved so deeply in. I took massive, massive leaps of faith. It was a new level of love that I hadn't experienced before. That was meant to be, though. He had had a long expat career as well. And he and I had actually matched on Bumble in Singapore in 2016
Wow.
when I got out of a relationship with that cheating Australian, but before I ended up with that idiot German. And he and I had actually been texting on Bumble, but we never met up. And then fast forward, 8 years or so, that was like 2016. 2022, 23, when I moved back here, I was making trips back and forth before I moved back from LA to Florida. And we had matched on some other random app, like Inner Circle or something, and started chatting. And I said, I'm moving back, but it'll be a month or two, da da da. When I finally get back, I was just so finished and exhausted. I was actually not going to text him. Not because I would have, but like I would have given it a couple weeks. And then I ended up going to this tech conference that an organization had given me a ticket to go to. And he had also gone to the conference. And so we bumped into each other there. He recognized me. I didn't recognize first him, but then he showed me his name tag. And then I was like, you know what, let's get out of here. And so we went and got a glass of wine. And so that was actually our first date. But like, it was all these coincidences. And I didn't know that we had matched in Singapore. He actually only told me on our third date because he said something. We were at dinner and he was like, the first time we matched. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was, you don't recognize me, but he was, I recognized you when I saw you again this year. And he was like, I remember you from Singapore 8 years ago, 9 years ago or something. Whatever. And that was just like things like that don't accident. You know what I mean? Like those aren't accidents. Like, so that relationship was no accident either. It ran its course, I think, because like fundamentally it is very, very hard to date someone when you come from such different backgrounds. And, you're talking nationality, culture, race, religion, education, socioeconomic, like all these things, just geography, like, I grew up as an immigrant and a minority and we moved all over America. I went to 8 schools before I got to college. My experience was, I'm a sample size of 1,
Yeah.
2, if you count my brother. Like, that is it. Whereas like he was, he grew up in a small town in southern Italy and had the complete opposite life of mine. And, his family had been there for generations, whereas mine were, immigrants and refugees. And, my family's been on 4 continents in 3 generations.
Right.
There's a lot. Sometimes love is not enough because like relationships have to be functional. They have to be highly functional. You have to be like locked in with your teammate. You have to be on the same page about everything. And that is hard to find.
And I think you just made a very important point that we sometimes forget is socioeconomic, our upbringing. Where were we brought up? Our background makes such a big difference, which we sometimes, when we meet someone, we don't take that seriously.
No, but those end up being a lot of the fundamental differences, which is why, I've dated so many different types of men, and there are pluses and minuses. Sometimes like, yeah, is it easier if I dated an Indian man who was Hindu? Then it's easier just 'cause I don't have to explain anything, right? Then like, this isn't like National Geographic, you know? I'm not being a tour guide of Indian Hinduism. I don't want to do that if I don't have to. But then it's like they come with their too many issues, you know,
Yeah.
and then it's also different because a lot of them are first and second generation Indian, and I'm fourth generation Indian. My parents have British accents. You know what I mean? Like part of it really is just surface level. Like this is just genetics. I could have looked like anyone at this point. But, you know, but then it's like, yeah, did you grow up the same way? You know, and men and women fundamentally experience the world very differently, let alone countries, continents, education, you know, family values, like how, and also like their relationship with their parents and their parents' relationship that sets the tone for them as it sets the tone for you as well. And, you know, it is fascinating to hear, sometimes horrifying, like, you know, but like it is fascinating to hear how differently people grow up, how
Now,
different, like that we all function in the same society.
so for someone that is looking for someone and they may or may not have kids, I'm okay being independent, but I'd like to find someone. What would you give as an advice?
You know, this is coming from like the, you know, consummate hermit. Like I can go into hermit mode at any moment and be happy, but like you have to start going out and participating in things. You have to find out what's going on in your community and like focus on what you're interested in. Say we'll make it very local and practical. Join pickleball, you know, go do some classes, professional organizations. There's so much stuff even on Meetup. I meet people out and about, you know, a decent amount. Then you have to be willing to be brave enough to also, you know, ask somebody out, even just friendship wise, right? Forget, like, I don't really ask men out. So I'm not going to tell another woman to do it if, like, I don't have the guts to do it. You have to be the one who's, like, willing to text and be like, do you want to grab lunch? Or do you know, follow up with people. I think so many of us have the best intentions when we meet, but how many people follow up and follow through? And that's what makes a difference in anything. You know, in our last episode, we were talking about the friendships I maintain that are around the world. That is effort. Yeah, sometimes we don't talk, but like someone has to make the effort. Just even if you're just sending each other like funny TikToks and like memes. Like I send my friends tons of memes. It's like my love language. I slowly, and I've come out of hermit mode. So like for me, it's been, you know, now I'm kind of like really getting back into the swing of it, which is great. But like I wasn't for a while. And at first it was like tougher than it is now. Now I'm like, you know, I'm tired because I'm out. Like, you know, which I wouldn't have said 6 months ago. Figuring out what you're interested in. The dating part, the thing is, it's like at this point in time, I don't want to say to force it. I actually feel that like it will come the more you fall in love with yourself and the more friends you have and just the more like connection. The more connection you have to yourself and then the more connection you can like honestly have with other people. I have been really meeting some fabulous women recently, just as I've gone out and about. Some of it's through business, some of it's just like social stuff or people invite me out and, you know, maybe I would have been more likely to say no before. Whereas now, like, I say yes. Like, my first answer is yes. And then maybe I regret it. But, like, you know, I'm like, now I come from a place of yes. Like, selectively, but, like, you know, it is nothing is going to happen at home.
No, and do you believe in marriage? But when you say you do meet someone,
Hell yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. No, I intend to get married again. Like I am glad I haven't yet because I don't, you know, I don't look at any of the men I've been with as great as they are. Like I don't, or not, like I don't look at any of them and be like, that's the one that got away. Like I haven't met him yet, but like, absolutely. I want to get married. I loved being a wife. Being a girlfriend is confusing. I'm like not a good girlfriend because like I just like once I fall in love with somebody, like I want to take care of them. Like I want to make, you know, I want to take care of their health. I want to take care of their fitness. Like I want to make them dress better. I want to like make them more money. Like I am like ride or die. Like, but you know, and so like that girlfriend part, I'm just like, are we doing this or not? Cause you know, and sometimes it takes, you know, a couple months to a year to figure that out. But then it's like, all right.
I think a lot of women are scared possibly to get married again or to find someone, as you said, just to go out. And I think the first step is just going out and meeting someone. And then you can think about marriage later, correct?
Yeah. No, like don't rush into anything. Like relax. Like there's no, like there are so many types. It's not so binary anymore. There are so many people who have very stable, long-term, committed, financially integrated relationships who are not married, but who fully intend to spend their life together. It really depends a lot of, like, I had an easy divorce. So, like, I'm not scarred by that. But, like, some people have, like, crazy divorces. And then it's like, and some people do get divorced more than once. Like, make sure you know what you're doing and who you're dealing with.
And how about the people who are in really bad marriages and they don't want to accept that? And they don't want to get out. That's like another episode in itself.
But, it's like that, it has everything to do with them as individuals. That has everything to do with their self-respect and their self-concept. And it has everything to do with, a lot of people live in denial. Like, that is a really, really solid place for a lot of people to live. Like, there's nothing scarier than confronting yourself. There's absolutely nothing more horrifying than taking an honest look in the mirror and being able to call yourself out on your bullshit. And they're not willing to do that yet. They haven't evolved to that level. And so that, like, people are on different levels of consciousness. They're on different levels of evolution, of maturity, of insight. So it's like, you can't judge somebody who's on, like, level 23 against someone who's on level 3 consciously.
And also financial independence. I think a lot of women are financially independent, but they're scared because they feel like they can't pay the mortgage or their kids, tuition. I think a lot of women are scared financially too to take that step.
I think they're scared, but then it's also like, you have to be honest, and you're like, well, you're obviously getting something out. They can both coexist. You can be scared of something, and conversely, that situation can also have its pros that you're not admitting to. The comfort, the security, the, not rocking the boat, because you're not just leaving, you're blowing up a marriage. Blowing up's maybe like harsh, but like, it's a marriage, then a family and kids, and then, family, and then community and everything. I don't think these decisions should be taken lightly either. Everybody gets to the right point of time at the right time. Really, like, now I really believe that like, would it have been easier on me had I known the things 10 years ago that I know now? Yes, my life would be completely different. However, it took those 10 years and all those events for me to get here. So it's like, what am I comparing? Like, it had to happen that way. So like, they're not there yet. And one day, some people never leave, and that is their karma. And that will, I believe in reincarnation, and, that will basically, their courage in this lifetime will determine their place in the next. And even if you figure it out right at the end, all you got to do, like, time is a concept, time's a theory. It's not real. It just is. Once you figure it out, you figure it out. And it's like, all you got to do is get there. Like, you got to cross the finish line before, like, the game is over.
I think this is really good practical advice. What other advice would you give to women in their 40s and 50s who are seeking someone, and say they do have kids? You're a woman that you're independent financially, you have no baggage, nothing. So you might be more attractive to the next male than someone who may have 2 kids, not as financially independent, and a lot more baggage.
I mean, there are so many variables in between that. And I have seen a lot of men with kids and women with kids together. I think a lot of it really more depends on the age of the kids. First things first, if it's the finances that need to be sorted out, you got to sort those out first. Then do not spread yourself too thin. If you are in a place that you want to date, you can date. Like, it's not like people aren't on dating apps. As much as I made fun of them at the beginning, I'm on a dating app. Other really great men are on dating apps. I hate how we end up communicating with each other, because we're actually probably both cool. It's the modality that sucks. I mean, you have to get on, like, the apps are kind of, I feel like, a rite of passage. But there are a lot of singles events. There are a lot, like, we're talking about the general apps. There are so many apps for, like, age groups, like over 50, mixed family groups, like, by religion, like, whatever. There are thousands of dating apps, and there's, like, millions of people have gotten married from them. Millions of people have found, like, great partners. Like, dating apps have influenced me a lot, particularly in the past decade. But I mean, there's no problem. Like, you want broad advice, you can ask me a more pointed question. I don't know, like, am I answering this question? I don't feel like I am.
No, I think you are. I think you said everyone has baggage. And I think you just have to find that person that you get along with. and you see commonalities with.
Yeah.
Not everyone is perfect.
People are in such different places. Some people are more physically driven. Some people are more intellectually driven. Some people are more financially driven. Like, some people are more lifestyle driven. Like, you have to sort through all of that. I just think, like, the more you get honest with yourself and the better you know yourself and the more secure you are with yourself. I do not date when the worst thing to do is date when the rest of your life isn't relatively stable. Stabilize the rest of it first. Otherwise, you are like a pinball and it's just like it's messy and you don't have that like emotional bandwidth, particularly if it's like bills and kids. Like, you have to stabilize that first. Otherwise, do not open up your energy to strangers.
No, very good advice. I like what you said is you have to find yourself first inside and then you'll find your other half.
Yeah, I think it like they come in turn. And as somebody who didn't understand that and then figured it out later in life, really, it was, yeah, it kind of, it turned everything on its head. It made everything, I had to look at everything differently. But like, it was my journey. And it couldn't, if it had gone any other way, I would be different for it.
Yeah, no. And I think more power to you. And I think also another stigmatism I feel in the Indian community is if you get divorced, again, denial. Why did he or she get divorced? That's like another episode in itself.
Yeah. It is. I won't speak to that as I don't think I'm immersed in the community enough to have like, and you know what? And I left. I felt the stigma of that. I think to a certain extent, I probably imposed on myself. Like, we talk, like, there's a collective thing that you kind of maintain, right? Like, otherwise it disappears. That is how cultures work, is they have to, that concept has to coincide and coexist in multiple minds simultaneously. So it's like, maybe I stigmatized myself. I think.
But even at 20, no, even Padmini, at 2025, people still look down. I mean, it's 2025. Come on.
No, I get it. And I think, the next question is always like, do you have kids? And then it's like, if you do have kids, and it's like, how old are the kids? And then it's like, I think it's all changing though. I'm like, it's not that uncommon. Like, Indian people like our age are divorced. Like, this is not, even 20, 30, 40 years ago. Like, it's not that uncommon now. So like, I don't know. I don't think people ask, and I guess perhaps like, yeah, if I'm at the temple and someone's,
But it's where they were brought up. I think people from India look at it as a taboo, but if it's us being brought up here, we're like, oh, it's not a big deal. But that's where you're saying like, it's where you're brought up and that whole mindset of, that's why a lot of Indian people from India who are maybe first generation are so unhappy in their marriages because it's a taboo. And it's a denial. But us being brought up in the United States, we're like, okay, it's not a big deal.
No. And that's a privilege. Like, I often think like, what if I had been born and raised in India? Like, how different would I be? Or what would my choices have been? What kind of pressure would I have been under? Would I have just been married off young? You know what I mean?
I agree.
And for that, I am like so grateful. I am so, so grateful. That however weird, my background was, like, I do not take that part for granted.
No, we're lucky to have been brought up with progressive parents in America. They also went through a lot of things like the namesake,
Yeah, that was, Jhumpa Lahiri.
Yeah, they were our parents like that, but I think they did a pretty good job raising us. I feel like they weren't confused. They knew what they were doing because I think we turned out okay, pretty much.
Yeah. I think, in that respect, like, the namesake, like you're second generation, right?
Yeah.
Like, my parents grew up in East Africa. Like, my dad's from Kenya, my mom's from Uganda. Both sides go back 3 generations. So like, my family left India in the 1800s, both sides. Then in the 60s, like, Idi Amin happened. My mom became a refugee. She landed in the UK. My parents met during college. They went to different universities, but they met in college in the 70s. And then in the 80s, we moved here. So it was very muddled because in a way, like, my parents were actually just very British. And that was its own like experience. It was like very English, British, like, and then in America, in Phoenix of all places, to go from like London to Phoenix. But I think like, what I think our parents did well, I think a lot of us were basically like overloved as children. We were like suffocated with love. We were just like, like they didn't have any hobbies. Like,
Yeah, true.
I was like, don't you have any more friends? Can you not? Like, you know what I mean? They've just been like obsessed with us. Like they're still like, I went, I'm not even going to tell this story. I'm not even going to tell you how protective my parents still are of me at 45. It is embarrassing. I'm like, I have lived on different continents.
Yeah.
They're like, take a life jacket.
Yeah, still. Wear that sweater. It's like 60 degrees in Florida. Padmini, did you take that jacket? I know.
It is. It's a little embarrassing. They were like locked in. And a lot of us grew up like that, which is, why we were like, hyper achievers. We always, it was like, the American dream on steroids. And then, you just had to get, a stupid amount of education. Like, why do I have 4 degrees? We've been talking in really broad topics, but, there's so much to say about like cheating, situationships, just a lot of dating's messy. Relationships are messy. The psychological person behind that is obviously messy. So
thank you. I think you are very open, honest, what you've been through, in your mid 40s, giving advice to other women who are in their mid 40s and 50s who are single and they don't have a peer to look up to or a mentor that is going through the same thing as them.
I think it's a lonely experience. I think like when, and everyone does it at different points in time. So it's rare that like you're going through a divorce with your best friend at the same time and you could just like rock through it together. It is a very, very lonely experience. And I think like every marriage is different and every ending is different. And that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Padmini, for again being a guest speaker on SBW Talks. We're going to have another episode because there's a lot of things we can discuss on relationships, situationships, dating. What else, Padmini?
Yes. Well, we haven't talked about sex, have we?
Yeah, no. Well, we're going to make it end right here. Thank you,
All right.
viewers. Thanks, SBW Talks viewers. We'll see you again. Thanks, Padmini.
Take care.